All right. So, can you tell me about SSD?
Okay, so SST is Student Support Team, and that basically consists of administration, so either the principal or the vice principal. You have the literacy coach, you have the learning support coordinator, you have the grade level learning support teacher, and then the teacher that refers the student. They would make up the student support team, and basically they would take the referral, meet on that student, discuss the student's needs, what they think should be put into place, and then make some decisions. Maybe they decide, well, we don't have enough information, so we're going to require that the parents go out and get a neuropsych, because we don't know what this child's diagnosis is. Or maybe they decide, well, you know what, we're going to go ahead. You know, it looks like he will make some benefits from learning support, so we're going to put him in learning support. So based on the information from the referral, they make the decision about what the next direction is.
Okay. So, another question, a follow-up question on that. So, what is your take? What is the school's take on students that are clearly, needing these services, but then the parents are not very cooperative? So, what kind of service do you provide, or do you provide any services at all? This kind of students?
That's a good question. I mean, really, your hands are kind of tied in that situation, because this is a school that, it's not like IDA, where, every student should get a free and appropriate education, and in the States we have more stringent laws. Like, we would say to the parents, they have to be, we have to identify them, they have to be in these services. Here, we can't really force parents to, we certainly can't force them to go out and get a neuropsych. I know that in the past, and this is kind of off the cuff, prior to my getting here, I think some parents were told, your child needs to go get a neuropsych. If he doesn't get a neuropsych and come back with that information next year, we will not enroll him in the school. We can't serve him. There's other situations, like on the flip side of that, I had a child last year that just needed help with literacy and math. Was clearly just a mild case of learning support, but was really going to benefit from our services. We could never get the parents into the school for the meeting. So what we did, you have to kind of get creative with things like that. So, maybe we're providing push-in services for math or reading, and we have a small reading group or a small math group in the back of the room where we can pull her in. She's not formally in the services. However, we can provide help within the classroom when we're in there. Hey, I'm going to ask for some additional people to join my group today. Parents do pay for the service, though, so it's not really fair for me to serve a child that has those needs and the parents aren't paying for it. So if we're providing a service and we're charging for that service, then we all have to be together in that situation. That's where I think that in our school now we're trying to really promote RTI, the model of RTI, and hopefully we can provide some more in-services to teachers about different ways to differentiate within the classroom, and hopefully we can meet some of the needs for those students that way.
Can you explain more about the RTI? How do you use RTI model to identify the students? Like what tier they are?
Most of ours, well, it really would depend. I mean, some of our kids could be in the top tier, and some could be in the middle tier. So tier 2 and 3 usually would be students that we would identify for in the RTI model. The tier 2 is where you're going to do more of that small group and differentiation in the classroom. I mean, you should be doing differentiation in all of the levels, but some of the students that are in learning support would be in that level 2. Level 1 is really where we're going to, if they're not successful in level 2, that kind of is like where the teachers would be trying lots of interventions before they make that referral. And once they make that referral, then that would put them up to the level 1. If you look at international schools, there's an organization called NFI, Next Frontier Inclusion, and they make suggestions for the percentage of students that you should have in, and I don't know, you can probably look this up.
Yeah.
But and Rosalind may be able to describe this better to you, but there's percentages that they suggest to schools based on the population of their school, of the number of students you should have that are intensive and mild and moderate. So, but probably, the top tier is where you would see students that are in learning support.
Okay. Can you tell me more about NFI and why did their school adopt that program?
Next Frontier Inclusion, I don't know the actual date that they started, but Bill and Osha Powell were the founders of Next Frontier Inclusion. And basically, there's been a push everywhere, internationally and nationally for inclusion. It's funny, special education, I've been in special education for over 20 years. And so, like everything in life, what comes around goes around kind of deal. And so we've kind of gone back and forth many, many times, what is the best way to serve students with special needs? Is it best to serve them in a self-contained classroom, or do we need to push them out and be a more inclusive model with schools? I think in the last 20 years, don't quote me on that, the push has been for inclusion. So right now in education, the philosophy is, the best way to serve students with all needs is to serve them as inclusively as possible. So, and I lost my train of thought. What was the original question?
The NFI.
Oh, NFI, sorry.
That's fine, that's fine.
Was developed by Bill and Osha Powell. They realized that in the past, a lot of students were, parents would get a job abroad and they couldn't take the jobs, or they wouldn't take the jobs because they couldn't find a school that would serve their student with special needs or learning disabilities. So it's just been recognized internationally that we have a responsibility to all students. So they started NFI, Next Frontier Inclusion, and basically it's an organization and it's an affiliation that's now has, I don't know how many members, but quite a few members internationally for schools that are using inclusion within their schools. They provide a lot of different supports and professional development opportunities for schools internationally so that we can all become similar in our practices with all students that have learning needs. It's been very helpful for our school to become involved with NFI. We can use them as a resource. They have lots of tools online. That's where we got our ILP from, the form that we use for our ILP. So, and obviously if our students are traveling internationally, they're going to go from our school to some other international school. So they can leave our school, go to another school that is affiliated with NFI and kind of move in a lot more smoothly.
Okay, that's pretty good.